My friends, welcome to Hindi reading class 7A. And you're saying to yourself right now, didn't we learn those already? Well, kind of. Do you notice something strange? These are retroflex. What's beneath them? A little bitty dot. And as we have seen sometimes before in Hindi, that a dot can have meaning. What meaning? Well, you'll see. So as you notice, we're almost there. You almost know the whole alphabet. This is great. So now we're going to discuss something strange. What do all of these things have in common? Mm, 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 mm. Mm, 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 mm. Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, they're flapping, flapping. Ah, yes, the up and down motion of the. Ah, yes, it's flapping. That's what the difference is. Wonderful. So, did you know that you can also flap your tongue? It's amazing. Yes, you can flap your tongue. How? Let's just get straight into it. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is the hardest set of letters in the entire Hindi script, the hardest. So if you haven't perfected what's come before, I suggest you go back there and run away. Come back to this when you've perfected what's come before. This is going to take some time. So here's what you see, a flapping motion with the tongue. It starts up towards the retroflex position, but not quite touching the top of the mouth, and then it flaps forward. And it hits where? Oh, yes, the bump behind the top front teeth. A very important bump. And it makes a noise. What is that noise? Rda. Interesting, isn't it? Now, Rda and Rha are not English R. It might sound that way to you right now. Rda and Rha are not English R. Not. Memorize the not. That's going to be very important. It's not English R. No, listen carefully. You hear an impact. Erda, 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 erda. And that moment of impact is what distinguishes this completely from English R. Erda, 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 erda. Aha. So I'm going to show you a little video so you can see what this looks like on the inside of your mouth. At the beginning of the video, it's going to sound a little bit like L, and that's really because my mouth is open way too wide and my tongue is not really hitting the bump as it should. But you'll get the idea. This is the motion in your mouth. As you can see, this thing is all over Hindi. You need to know how to do this, and I'm sorry, that had to be done. So, slow mo. Yes, slow mo of what it looks like. We start with the tongue up towards behind the bump, and then we swing the tongue forward like like a whip, and it hits the bump behind the top front teeth and comes down to rest. Erda, 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 erda. Okay, so don't worry if you can't do this right now, because I can guarantee you that unless you were born in India, or your parents were Indian, or your grandparents were Indian, you did not learn how to do this. So, if you have tongue problems making your tongue move this way, as I did when I was learning, I was like, what? How am I supposed to do this? Well, here's what I did, because I am tongue dysfunctional, tongue retarded. Anyway, I could not get my tongue to move like this. So here's what I did, is I started with my tongue, the roof of my mouth, and I just kept tracing it forward all along the roof of my mouth, completely making contact, right? So this is so I could train my tongue to move forward like that. Should have included a video, but trace your tongue along the roof of your mouth to the bump. Over, 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 over. Try to make it do a little flicker, flip. Try to make it go a little faster. Look in a mirror. Because if you look in a mirror, you will see this, right? You should see your tongue going back and forth, and you should feel the bump. Flip it towards the bump. Never touch, stop. Always keep in contact. This is just training wheels, right? This is the very first step. Training wheels, if you can't do this, some people can, you tell them what to do, you show them what to do. Oh, I can do that, or that. Okay, this is for those like me who cannot do that. Okay, so once you do that a whole bunch of times, you get the gradual motion. Keep looking in the mirror, and then you take away some of the training wheel and you try to do it in the air, right? Erla, erla, erla. Very slowly. Remember, we always emphasize slowness first, because slowness means training, fastness, fast speed means you already know it. So slow. Erla, 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 erla. Remember, the tip of the tongue has to hit that bump. You should feel that impact. Okay. So now we're going to talk about the two flaps in Hindi. This is the first one, of course, non-aspirated flap. Rda, 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 rda. It is a flap, retroflex flap. And this is the aspirated retroflex flap. Rda, 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 rda. Okay, that's how it's distinguished in writing. But both are the same basic motion. Okay, so number one is a flap with no air. Da. Number two, flap with air. Da, 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 da. Now it's good to remember them that way so you can spell correctly. No air. Da, with air. Da. No air. Da, with air. Da. Okay, so I said this was an R. Now neither is it Spanish R, neither is it Hindi R, neither is it English R. It's none of the R's. Hopefully you can do Spanish R, um, but it's not English R either. So it makes a difference. Okay, so what we have par is on, whereas pad is to drop or fall. Umar is age, whereas umar is to swell. Sar is head, whereas sard is to rot. Bear is to crush. Beard is a tree. Har is each. Hard is a type of plant. Par is the far side, and bard is to cause to fall. Hur is a virgin in Islamic paradise, whereas Hur is ignorant or rash. Hur. Okay. Chor is a edge or a fringe, whereas chor is to leave it alone, to stop doing that, to leave it there, to abandon it. Chor. Sarak is to slide or creep, whereas sarak is a road. Sarak, sardak it changes the meaning of words. So anything that changes the meaning of words is important. And these letters are everywhere in Hindi. You can't escape them. They're from least to greatest word. They're wonderful. It's the flap, and it is a defining feature of Hindi. This is not found in in Sanskrit. This is a fully Hindi sound, the flap. Now, there's a school of thought that, these flaps can be pronounced as, actually, that's before we get to that. In writing, we're doing with this exception here because this is an important exception because you see this word all the time, right? So in this exception, ra can be pronounced as dha because the spelling of the Hindi word, right, is an old pronunciation. People don't really say that anymore. Maybe somewhere far over the rainbow, hiding. But in normal everyday Hindi, the kind that you hear on movies and stuff, people always say dhoondhna. They never say dhoodna. Dhoondhna is what they say. So if you go around saying dhoodna, you kind of sound weird. Okay, and it's hard to do. It's hard to get your mind around saying dhoodhan. So this is pronounced dhoondhna, although most times it is spelled dhoodna. You can pronounce it as dhoondhna if you so choose, and I suggest that you do. So the same goes with dhood. It's pronounced dhoond. Dhoodega is pronounced dhoondhega. Dhoondhegi. Dhoondhenge. Dhoonda. Dhoondha, sorry. Dhoondhi and dhoonde. Okay, so this is the only time you can pronounce adha like adha. Okay, now let's take a look at this. This is interesting. How do they write these letters in movie titles? Because these are not have any relation to English at all. Are the Look at these movie titles. Look at the D. The D. What is this D? Is this dental D? Joe D? Is this retroflex D? Joe D? Or is this a flap? Jodi. You'll be surprised to know it is actually a flap. Rabne bana di jodi. Wonderful. Same here. We have, if you were to pronounce this in English according to what you know from English, you would say ek ladka, ek ladki. But this is actually, what D is this? Is this the dental? The. Is this the retroflex? The soft or the hard? Or is this a flap? Or it is a flap. एक लड़का एक लड़की. It is a flap. And so flaps are essential. Now here we come to the quintessential point. Why not pronounce da and dha as da and dha? Sometimes you'll find some words in Hindi that have similar words where they alternate between the two. One version will have the flap, another version will have the da and dha. They're almost always slightly different. The vowel sound and so on will be different. However, one, they're not the same. So you can put a leaf on a cut or you can put a band-aid on a cut. They're not the same. They don't sound the same. And so some common words start sounding strange. If you start going around saying my ladka and my ladki, it sounds kind of weird just a little bit. Ladka, ladki, right? मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ. It sounds good. It sounds normal. If you start saying the retroflex, it sounds weird. Second point, if you start replacing the flaps with English, well, not with English, with retroflex the, then English words start sound, regular Hindi words start sounding like English words. Mood is to turn, and mood. What mood are you in? Beard is a tree, whereas I'm paid. What? Mode is a band, whereas mode, a la mode. What? Toward is to leave. Oh, whoa. That's similar to a bad word. We don't want to go there. Okay, so, you know, to cut a long story short, please learn how to do flaps. It's not impossible. You can teach yourself. Um, I would say it's easier than learning a Spanish. All right, to me, it you can teach yourself. It takes repetitive practice. To be honest, it took me a couple hours of practice to get it, a couple years for it to feel natural. Couple hours, couple hours or days, maybe a week of practice to get it, and couple years for it to feel natural. I would have to build up every time I said it, but now it's natural. I have no problems with it. So you should expect a similar thing. Some people do it faster. I know people that have gotten it within a few minutes. So remember, your homework is to do this flap. Now, if you can't do it, slowly trace your tongue, slowly, emphasis on slowly, along the roof of your mouth from behind the bump to the forward bump until you get your tongue moving like it should. Move like an Indian, right? Erda. And then slowly flap it, not touching the top of your roof, only hitting the bump. Erda, erda, erda. It's okay to sound crazy. Now, if you have to do this when you're at work, when you're in bed, when you're in the bathroom, when you're showering, do it. You're gonna need time to practice. And then once you get that and you can do it in the air, you can get it slow, speed it up, and then you can start doing erda, erda, erda. Now it's gonna probably sound weird a little bit uh, for a while, but as long as the tip of your tongue hits that bump and it doesn't touch anywhere else in your mouth, you're good. You've got it. Keep practicing. Don't give up. If it sounds funny, keep doing it. Okay? It's better than the alternative, which is great. So that is the homework. I will not do the reading practice. I'll do reading practice separately because you need time to practice this if you don't already know how to do it. When you get how to do it, come back and we can do the reading practice. Thank you very much. This has been 7B Flaps, the hardest thing in Hindi. If you can get this, you have everything. Thank you.